Colin McNamara, you're online. You must be on, Mr. McNamara, I think you're on mute.
How about now?
Here you go. Good evening. Name and address. Thank you.
Hold on. Does the microphone actually work? Because we're at like 25% failure rate where nobody can hear me, except the people in the room. So does the microphone work?
Mic work is fine, and the clock has started. Name and address, please.
Colin McNamara, 47 Grandview Street.
Thank you.
Regarding the last comment, Mr. Brown, I think, welcome to the club. We're going to get going quick. The adoption of the minutes. You haven't posted the minutes since May 11th online. That's like 4 meetings. No minutes for the public. You got to go down and make a crusade to the clerk's office to find them if they're open. We're going to talk about the general manager's report and the ARP funding. Mr. Stefano said that you cannot use the ARP funding to pay down the pensions from town employees, which is hilarious because the governor's put almost $4 billion from federal funding into paying down the state's pension, so everyone won't be able to see how insolvent we are after 30 years of Democratic leadership. What a joy. Equity definition. I don't know why Mr. O'Neill didn't send me the definition in the back of this project, town manager's report, recommended budget. It's right in the back. The degree to which services benefit a set of constituents that accurately reflects the composition of the target population. Mr. Stefano talked about creating an Office of Health Equity and suspending $500,000 to combat racism as a public health crisis. I would love to see some town statistics that show racism a public health crisis. Has anyone died of the racism? Is there terminal illness of the racism, depression from the racism, something, some rationale for creating this body for $500K. But I would also suggest the town clean up its own house, because if you go to the town's breakdown of population, there's 55% is white and 14 is black, 14 is Hispanic, 11% Asian. When you flip the page, you look at the town's own chart for the employees, 90% of the town's employees are white. It doesn't, you don't even follow your own equity rules. You know, like 5% is black, 5% of the town employees are Hispanic. No, excuse me, 4%, even worse. So if you want to push equity, push it in your own house, not push it in everyone else's. Also, the town has 2,500 employees. The biggest employer in the whole town is the town, with a compensation of $62,000. The average town compensation for a citizen is $36, like $26,000 more. It's good to be a town employee, that's for sure. Equity for weed. Who doesn't like some equity for weed, right? Today's Hartford Current, I don't know if you saw it, cannabis company sues Social Equity Council. What a joke. It's always a joke. You got 37,000 applicants. You got 56 licenses. You got 169 towns in the state. So already the state is going to pick winners and losers on what town gets to collect the 3% extra revenue that they suck up from the weed businesses in town, okay? Then you got 28 licenses that will be social equity driven. But guess what? The companies can continuously push the applications. They can apply 100 times. Some mom and pop or ex-felon has got like a couple $100 to his name can only afford to apply once. So you're looking at a 99.85% decline rate. And I see multiple articles on social equity in weed as a complete joke, and it is. You're not going to get the license. It's going to go to some connected person who's probably a Democratic donor. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles. So donate. We're going to talk about the repurposing school survey. It's so funny. It's Mirage Consulting, and it's a perfect name because it's basically fake, like a mirage in the desert. It's made up of, I think, 4 Jordanian nationals who used to do funding for a NGO over there. Can we get like a local business that's maybe minority owned to do this survey? And if you go to the website, mirageconsulting.com, you can see Yafa, Allah, Nina, and Nada, and you can see the pronouns as they, them, she, her, and she, they, but you don't have a single last name on this website. Who are these people? Who are these people? They don't ask you what you want to do with the school so much. The number 1 and 2 questions is, what's your gender? Are you trans male, cis male, third gender, agender, gender queer? What's a two-spirit? A two-spirit, I want to know. I don't know. And then they ask you for your sexual orientation. What does it have to do with using a school that hasn't been used in 10 years? Are you pansexual, aromantic, demisexual, demiromantic, polyamorous, asexual? What does it matter? We got to put these schools to use. You guys have been sitting on your hands for 10 years, and you're saying, The board is trying to prioritize engaging residents from groups who have been remarginalized in the community efforts. You should be trying to build a consensus of as many people as you can. I got multiple comments on Facebook saying that people just stopped doing the survey because they were like, this is complete trash. Why do you need to know my sexual identity or my gender non-conforming binary, this, that, and the other thing in order to say what you're going to do with the school? It's a complete non-issue, and it's just pushing more social Marxism wrapped up in the equity
Mr.
agenda.
McNamara, thank you very much.
Take care.
Have a good week. Dave?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stringfellow. Other taxpayers, electors like to come up. Mr. McNamara.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Colin McNamara, 47 Grandview Street. I was noting that for an annual fee for the town's Microsoft 365, started by Bill Gates, $305,000 for annual fees for IT. And I'm curious, I asked to have the mic turned on, I'm curious in the recording if the mic will be hot, speaking of IT, because while the other speaker was talking, the IT got up and walked over to the camera and plugged it in, and you could all of a sudden hear the speaker. I don't think the IT department down there is earning $305,000. The other thing was $374,000 for early childhood supplies, travel, and whatnot. And I'm also just curious, like, what age are the kids getting iPads? In terms of like having access to technology. Mr. Stringfellow talked about like ransomware and spyware, and it's a lot of money going to, fees and travel and supplies. And I was wondering if any of that's, how much of that is actually watching over what the kids are consuming on these iPads? Because we talked about, or we had the discussions in the Board of E, and parents were sharing that kids on these iPads were able to circumvent the security features and get into places they shouldn't be. And it's a lot of money, and it'd be nice if there was a little bit tighter rein on what kids could access on iPads. And maybe some of these dollars could go towards that. All right, cheers.
Thank you. Any other taxpayers, electors? Seeing none. Any board there?
Hey, Colin McNamara, 47 Grandview Street.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Yeah, good to see you again. $500K for retention, recruitment, training, and retention. You think these jobs would be like getting scoffed up so quickly because town employees make an average of $52,000 a year, you think, and they have so much good benefits, you think people would jump right in for them. I don't know why we had to spend $500,000 on job listings. But I guess maybe it speaks to the overall pool of applicants and people not having the skills necessary. And I applaud those guys that were here earlier tonight, the trades and apprentice program. That's great. I wonder how much, is it $500,000 to do on a yearly basis for the trade and apprentice program? But $500,000 to recruit some employees. I'll have to keep my eye on the openings. All right, hey.
Thank you.
Hey, 47 Grandview Street, Colin McNamara. In the last meeting, I think there was like a line item in there. I don't know if it was a proposal for a grant submission or maybe to link some funding mechanisms. But I thought it said something about the library and the development of Main Street and using that as a proposing mechanism for instituting some complete street grant applications or using the complete street program for Main Street in our redevelopment process. And I was just looking for some clarity, maybe there could be a little discussion on, is there going to be any of this library project's funding wrapped into the completion of a complete street infrastructure according to the Department of Transportation for the Main Street, reimagining Main Street plan?
Is that all you have? Because once you're done, I'll let him answer the question.
Yeah, that's what I have for now.
Okay, thank you. Do we have someone here? Mr. Stefano, I'll go right to you. Thank you.
Sure. So to answer the question, we submitted, per the resolution of the board last month, a grant application to the state's Community Investment Fund, which included the library project and also included the downtown streetscape project. We're hopeful that we can secure funding towards the library towards this, but we were encouraged to submit a transformational project that was beyond just one building, and staff and through the board thought that these two projects linked together were good candidates for securing funding. So this, though, resolution question is about the library specifically, and ultimately it'll be, if it passes tonight, be up to the voters to choose whether or not they want to finance through future bonding the construction of a new library. So it's a separate item from the downtown streetscape project, other than the fact that our grant application to the Community Investment Fund was linked comprehensively between the two.
Clarification. Any board members?